Exactly. Yeah, so maybe we wind back. So hello to everyone who listens to the recording later on. So we have
Exactly.
we have now Sharon joining us. And our topic today is just brainstorming and an open conversation about feminine or the feminine and astrology and how it comes together in terms of wellness and all this. And we were just exchanging how we experienced the eclipse, everyone, and we got carried away. And now we are back on track. Yeah,
And I think sharing stories is one of the best things women can do these days, especially with because we carry so much. And I know we're not. I know I'm not the only one who felt the intensity of the emotional intensity of the eclipse on Monday. So I'm happy that I could like quickly share before we started between
yeah,
for both of you because that safety piece for me is huge.
yes, go for it. We can't wait to hear.
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
So,
Yeah.
Sharon, tell us a little bit more about your background because you've joined us here today, and I absolutely love you and Stephanie. You have very kindred spirits and also very authentic people. So we find when I feel that it's so exciting to broach on a conversation. But Sharon, your background is in divine feminine power. And can you give us a little bit more about how you came to be and what your interests are, your passions?
Sure. Yeah. So honored to be sitting amongst such, yeah, holy feminine beings. So, I was born the youngest of four girls. So I truly feel I was born into as just a really sensitive, empathic being. I was born into this kind of warrior spirit for the feminine. So I feel like my soul made some commitment, when I came in that I'm going to protect the female being because I could feel how deep the heart of woman, heart of feminine ran. And so I kind of went in just like, how can I study and learn about the full spectrum of the female, body, life, soul, and heart? And so I literally, went to undergraduate school for women's studies. I went on to work with women in very underserved conditions, like in domestic violence shelters and prisons, single mamas, teen mamas, immigrant mamas. And then, when I became pregnant with my first born son, it was like this call, just so deep, pulling me in, saying, it's now time to study what's going on in your female form in you. Yes, birthing a child, but more so being a female body carrying life. And so I just, in the way that I do things, I have a very, my background is in shamanism, as well as other things like priestessing, as a minister, hypnosis, etc. So I just turned everything inward and began in the most subtle way, watching life grow and watching how I responded to it. And again, that wasn't always pretty because I got to see all the constrictions and the pain, and more than anything, this place where the butting of heads of I wanted to give my whole heart and life to the growth of new life, to this child, to what was emerging through me, my creative projects, etc. And then my discomfort, and really, like, I just wasn't trained what woman is in receiving, being held by what she then is giving forward. And so I dedicated my time, both in different trainings I did, different gorgeous female leaders that I worked with, to really study that. Like, how does a woman receive the care and protection of the divine feminine while she is embodying and becoming that and sharing that? And so, yeah, on I went into a glorious journey of, I would kind of go through a different life transition, and then I would turn back and say, how can I share this with women and build a course, a body of work, study, go get trained in the different kind of thresholds of a woman's deep female journey. So That's a
Wow.
bit
It's
about
quite a journey,
me.
really.
A bit. That's beautiful. Like Stephanie, so I have a question that I'm very curious about this. In astrology, would there be, this is just a statement, I don't know if it's true or false, are there signs, zodiac signs, that are more apt to receive divine feminine energy, especially as women? Are there signs that are more adaptable, that can learn how to adopt this kind of feminine principle, this creative energy that Sharon so clearly explained, that it's difficult for women to do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a mystery to me. And
Mm.
what is your thoughts on this, Sharon and
What comes to my mind first is water signs. So women that have strong Scorpio energies, and they don't have to have their sun in Scorpio, but it's all the water, is the receiving, is the emotional, and Scorpio also transforms, because Scorpio learns through pain, and also then teaches and like rises from the ashes like a phoenix, and then can teach and heal others. The other is Cancer, that is the caring mother principle that nourishes, and it's the only, I mean, the woman is the only of the two that can give breast milk to a newborn. And then Pisces, of course, because it's the spirituality. So that, I think those are probably the most apt to be involved in this kind of like sacred feminine work. But then if you look, I mean, the other earth signs are more practical, I would say, and also strong. And then the air signs are all about, I would say, connection and communication, and more mental. But yeah, so water signs first, or water dominant, because it doesn't have to be, yeah, your water, your sun sign. Also, the ascendant is super important, especially because we are talking about wellness. It's really our body, which is the first house, or the ascendant. It's pretty much the same spot. And what sign is on it. So it's like the how we appear to others. What's our persona, like our body also. So that definitely, if it's a lot of water, then we are more likely probably to choose a spiritual path.
Oh, wow. What do you think of this, Sharon?
Yeah, I mean, I love this. So my rising sign is Scorpio, and it's in the first house. So, and then my Lilith, you know how Lilith plays in all of this. So she's in my 12th house in Virgo, you know,
Yes,
so it's
okay.
again that interesting earth energy that really, you know, grounds this feminine principle, and also is a little bit rebellious with it all. And so I love so one of my spiritual teachers is an incredible holy feminine mystic, and I was taking part with her in her the holy days at the end of December into January, and she was talking so much about astrology and how we're at this incredible precipice where the influence of the planet, you know, is and has been historically and will always continue to be so subtle, but also so pronounced. And we now have that opportunity to really go beyond that, and to even be the ones to say, may those influences that we no longer agree with, or that kind of take us down, or aren't even, you know, supportive to us, they don't have to influence us in the way that they used to. So I'm thinking about this with what you just shared, Stephanie, because knowing, you know, in me, there's always been this, you know, most of my signs actually are in Aries. I have so much fire. But you know, that kind of internal battle with my own feminine, you know,
and so that's a real good point, Sharon, because the Aries and the Mars is considered to be the masculine, but it's now really about the like bringing the softness of the feminine, the feeling, the diplomatic, and the diplomatic is probably a good word, but also bringing it like using a momentum with that, because it has to be a change. Like, it's, what is that, the Jeanne d'Arc you know, a female fighter. When I look back, when I was very little, I saw some movies about Native Americans, and the women and men were fighting side to side against the invaders, like when the Spaniards went into the Southern Americas and the Central America. So that's really when I thought, this is so cool. And when you look in society, I'm born 67. So in my youth, it was really this, girls have to wear pink and boys have to wear blue. Boys don't cry. I dressed my 2-year younger brother, my neighbor friend and we dressed him in a dress and sent him up, like, you know, sent him out, and just for fun. And he found it funny, and he had a little longer hair. And I think even when he was a little boy in the stroller, that some people said like, oh, what a beautiful girl. But he's totally masculine. And that's really where I think, where a lot of women that are strong, I have a lot of women in my circle that are they are even Aries sun signs, and they're leaving a dent. They're really like sacred warrior woman. And it doesn't have to be like that you're very masculine and you talk with a loud loud voice, or so that you are masculine in your behavior. It's really the courage that it takes to make a change and take a lead also. That's it.
Oh, I love that. And it's
Go ahead.
a couple of years ago, I put together this course about the sacred warrior. And, you know, in my explorations of warrior, you know, so many of the goddess warriors were actually the goddesses of love as well. They were the goddesses of war and wisdom. They were the goddess of, you know, like, and when I just let that come into my system and then shared that with other women, you know, it was all about putting down the armor and realizing, you know, we can be filled with that kind of incredible, like you said, brave spirit without pushing, and really letting it propel us and hold us and carry us without having to be the initiators of it, because it's in there.
Yes.
It's in women.
Yes.
And especially in these times, I can't say enough of what I see shifting in female, you know, sacred circles and in leadership, of just the incredible softness of women now, and feeling like they don't have to do it that old way. It really feels like something's cracking, and we're on the horizon of it.
I agree. It's like a cleansing of this whole like a societal shaping, you know, like a social engineering, where the woman was like really suppressed for so long, and that's now like a correction of it. Because what happened in like on the world stage for the couple past years, with all this like gender craze and all this, that people are so shaken up that they realize deep down that there is something wrong. I mean, there are masculine and feminine. You have that in physics also. There's the power, the plug and the outlet, and it is what it is. And it's good maybe to be, I mean, to say like, okay, I think differently, and I choose not to be like a typical mom with children and whatever, and live freely, and also like same-sex love or so. That's fine. But putting it like a neon sign up into everybody's face and making everybody see it the same. So that's where it went really crazy, that people decide to have their own opinion about it and say like, okay, what happens out there if people want to get crazy and all this. And but the ethics, that's what I want to say, that the ethics, bringing this to kindergartens and schools in terms of the what is that called, the transvestites and the, what are they called? Yes,
Transgender.
and the like the drags, the drag queens and all this. It's fun maybe for an adult, I don't know, party, whatever, when they like it, you know. But I think we shouldn't start influencing children at a very young age. I think we're electromagnetic fields, and there's a certain nature to it, and this is kind of like distorting the picture of this the beautiful physics and energy that we are. That's what I think.
I like what you said, Sharon, about, and both of you alluded to this, is that pushing, that energy of pushing can be very destructive. And we've seen this through the consciousness, the collective consciousness, through ego, and introducing areas where perhaps need to be hold off a little bit and
Mhm.
have a little bit. It's almost, that game of tug of war. And we're constantly pushing and pushing and pulling this way, but there's no stillness. There's no like a collective breath of saying, let's work into this. And I've seen this across different organizations where I've worked, where there's a constant push and pull of systems that are based around ego, about competition,
Mm.
about go, and this. I've been a part of those, and there's no collective stillness that happens. You're constantly one-upping each other, and this is where the imbalance happens. There's an imbalance that's constantly, yes, there's an interplay, but the time for that is coming to an
Yes.
end, and
I,
integrating those two things is the bigger picture,
yeah,
to unify consciousness and to integrate and heal, especially as Sharon said, to that carrying energy to support the softer skill sets, to support heart-centered leaders.
exactly. And
We
it
need
takes,
to do this. We
it
need to
takes,
do this. It's
yeah.
getting, I'm very impatient, but this is too much. This is like, okay, come on, like get on.
Yeah, I feel the same. But it does take
Oh,
this nucleus. It does take this, like we have to have this impulse that is it has to move on, that people realize, okay, there's more to it than just measuring forces and all this. And that's the beauty of the polarization, or the polar axis of Libra, the feminine Venus, and Mars, the masculine. So we have it both in us, no matter what sexual preference we have. But it's really the calmness that we need in our self security, that we have both, and we don't have to fight for it. And there is no competition, because we can only be ourselves. And yeah, I think that's a good correction.
Yeah, and I was getting really teary when you were speaking,
Oh,
Roshni, and describing like the tug of war. I feel like that's a gorgeous visual and somatic example, because haven't we all been doing that in ourselves with all these beautiful aspects? And when you were even talking about stillness, I want to see if I was just reading this beautiful quote this morning from Marianne Williamson, who's running for president here in the United States. And she said, the French philosopher Blaise Pascal said, all the world's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Only in silence can we hear the whispers of destiny, and we receive the deeper answers in life when we take the time to ask deeper questions. And I love that idea. Like, what would happen if, like, in the tug of war, everyone just stopped and paused and realized that middle ground actually is what you need to connect with. Otherwise, if
yes.
you override it and pull it, you've just lost your pathway to unify and become more in alliance with all the other side of that tug of war, which is a part of you. It's a part of us. It's a part of our world. It's a part of our intergenerational journey, and so it's so beautiful.
There was also one of the lamas who said, like, if you're all hectic and you say, oh, I have no time to meditate, then sit down and meditate twice as long.
Yes. And I think too, like, you gave me goosebumps with that sit still, because when we look at organizations or countries, I don't know, there's a metaphor of, if you've heard this before, crabs in the bucket. They pull each other. If you put crabs in a bucket, one tries to get up, and the other one's like, hey, I'm coming too, and pulls him back down. And then one other one tries to go up and the other one says, hey, I'm coming too. We need to stop pulling each other down like that and breaking each other down, because what's happening is the competition, the idea of, for example, in economy, the competition becomes a fact of money only. And money is needed. We know this. Money is required. But when you go into a place of stillness, money still is available to you, but the solutions can be more aligned with the consciousness of an organization, a person, a leader, instead of one-upping each other and cutting each other down and lying, cheating, stealing, whatever happens. What's important is that that competition piece can soften so that solutions can not only help the people within that system of that organization, but also to heal the energies of competition, of economics. I think economics, to me, when I was learning it, I'm like, what is this supply and demand stuff? Like, I actually kind of liked it, but it's like, it doesn't serve our reality now. It doesn't serve that.
It
So
is, yes, we have to
I hope I
just
was clear about what I'm saying, is just that,
Mm.
just getting that integrative piece into organizations instead of just pew and offshooting
Yeah.
this way and pew and the shot offshooting this way. Like you're like shooting in the dark. You're like a mole. You're like, I'm gonna just make money. You can't do that
Yeah.
anymore. You
No,
can't
it's
do
we're
that.
getting to the point of exhaustion. But as you say,
Mhm.
it's a good thing. Exchange is a good thing, whether we
Yeah.
exchange data in our head, thoughts and ideas, or we exchange merchandise, and it can be exchanged in terms of bartering. And that's what it was originally. And now it's all about money. And then who can control the market and who can take commission on it and all this. And so it's not about the commodity anymore. It is really about who controls it. It's not what serves the people. And it's really like a disruptive thing. But when we look at like we are coming out of the earth era, we're heading into the Aquarian era, where it's really more about brotherhood and and mental like connections, consciousness. So that is really when it had to be present in our faces so clearly, that we say like, really, what is, do I really want the money or my time? What is valuable to me? And right now we have Jupiter, the benefic, in conjunction with Uranus, the change maker, in the earth sign and the abundance sign of Taurus. So that is helping people to really make a choice. What do I want? What is more important to me? Family time or quality Taurus time, or running after the mighty dollar?
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's causing me to think a lot about these shifts in our collective and personal values, and knowing like that one man show, yeah, it has its purpose at times. You know what I mean? Like to have, um, and we all know that feeling when like you're so connected to your own vision and the fulfillment of it and your goals, like it feels extraordinary. And, when we're collecting or connecting in with that much vaster, will this serve the collective? And how can I walk arm in arm with others to, get there? And I think, again and again, that journey from competition to collaboration, and knowing it's a spectrum, because I'm a mom of 3 boys, and I got out of it with the first son. He was not interested in sports at all, but the second two pretty hardcore, and it was uncomfortable for me. Like I used to get into it with the coaches. I was, like, what is this? Here's this woman who is all about collaboration, and I couldn't even handle it. And I had to learn to just watch and try to see. I think I have, accomplished some of it, but see the beauty in that, because there's also this like forging your own personal excellence, which we actually need to collaborate well. Otherwise, we're doing that weird thing, like you said, with the crabs, where we're like, we don't even realize we can come into our excellence without taking other people down. And other people need our excellence to find theirs too. So it's such a, it's like we can't altogether get rid of either side, which is what we always try to do, where we say there's a new value system coming forward, and it is going to change us if we allow it to. We don't have to go out there once again and push and be like, oh, we got to learn to collaborate, or it changes us and we suddenly start flowing with it.
It
And yeah,
does.
and sometimes it may take a crisis for people to realize, oh, hey, let's network together. And I think it always happened left after wars that set the society back, and then people would help each other, like with the fire in Maui or so, that people come together and they forget about their own needs and all this, and they say, like, for the good of all. That's really the new way, I think, also.
And I think too, I'm gonna take a little bit of a turn here. When we talk about wellness, and Stephanie, your example reminded me of this. The idea of Maui, for example, with all the disaster that's happened there, and people just leaving what they need to do in order to help. Wellness has to come from collective efforts, to support women, to support countries. This is not an ideal, this is not a pipe dream. This can happen because all of us have comfortably seen this in work, either in female sacred feminine circles, in natural disaster efforts. In order to achieve wellness, in my eyes, it has to come from collective efforts, coming together either through a disaster or just coming through in common thread, like us in our holy trinity today.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Coming through collective efforts and leaving our needs behind. Not needs like, I'm not brushing my teeth today. I'm talking about proverbial needs. Because if we help each other and if we understand what's happening on the other side, the main thing that's going to grow is the seeds of compassion, seeds of empathy, and also nurturing those seeds of reception, receiving energy, which is, for me, even personally, it goes up and down, because sometimes you're playing with all these archetypes, trying to work through being what a woman needs to be, right? But I think, what do you guys think about that? Like collective wellness and helping each other. Is this a hard thing to do for
No,
humanity?
I think it's even rewarding, even if you reach out a hand and physically help someone. I was just on a road trip for 6 days with a group, and there was this one lady, and she had trouble with her knee, and it feels so good if you can reach out and help that person down the trail on the rocks. And I think that we probably discovered this side in us because it's innate, and it had been maybe like trained away, like untrained, in order to be in the rat race and in the hamster wheel, getting up early and maybe running 3 jobs to catch up with the prices and inflation.
What do you think, Sharon?
Yeah, I think there's also feels kind of slow, but that gentle movement, especially in this very, self-focused self-care genre, with women, the whole motto of self-care has really become a huge one, and good, like understandably so. And I think the more that the female being deepens into it, I know for myself, whenever I'm deep in that self-care, my prayer is always, what I am doing, may it be for the best of all. And then really seeing that model of self-care as collective care and collective care as self-care. And there's a body of work I do with women called the wombing sanctuary. And so one woman goes into the middle, and then all the other women come around her. And she is seen as like the collective wisdom right there of, when we serve her, we're serving like truly that interdynamic potential of what's possible. By caring for her, we're all receiving and caring for ourselves. And over the years, as I've watched it kind of grow and the energetics of it build, it is profound that the women who are in the kind of the giving energy are so moved. They are so moved to like let all that love pour out and not hold back, to just like pour their sweet care and whispers and intentions on this one woman, and that she gets to be the vessel just to receive it. So it's that beautiful, again, we get to see like our giving is receiving and our receiving is giving. And there's so much, again, in the nuance of the push pull of that, the tug of war of that, when we realize we're being remade to let those notions of when we give to another, we are giving to ourselves. And when we really authentically give to ourselves, we're giving to others. And they're both, you know, like that truly, I think, is a collective, true image of, you know, well-being, because until we're all well, we're not actually well. We're just not.
That's
Wow.
yeah, we're basically we're in the same field anyway. So if we are intending to make the field more harmonious, the field more harmonious, and putting good thoughts, good intentions in it, it's serving all.
I think that's so, if we're not all well, what did you say again, Sharon? If we
If we're
are,
not all well, we're actually not well, you know. Like I
Yeah.
can get to a certain stage of wellness in me, and I think as I've come, you know, through menopause, I've just made so much more deeper peace with this knowing that I always could feel in my being. But, you know, for example, if my family system is not healthy, I'm only going to be so healthy. And instead of
Mm,
that being a battle, now it's a deep acceptance. Or, you know, until our culture is well, I'm only going to be so well, and vice
wow.
versa, you know?
How does, how would, let's take again, female wellness and astrology, who would be easily trained to adopt affirming type of practices for their wellness? Who would be motivated to affirm and to bring wellness practices easier than other zodiac signs? I know for me, I'm a Virgo. We're just, health is like, woo,
That's
bing, green
yes,
light all the time,
that's
bing,
yeah,
right? And
like on
even
my
then,
tongue
and that's
already,
kind of like,
and
it's
it
so
is logical, exactly.
subjective.
Yeah,
But it's like in the morning, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do, oh, this, so,
oh,
but then at the same time, I am not immune to self-doubt, to going into different archetypes, to being in survival mode, to getting angry, to feeling absolutely exhausted. You know, how how do you navigate these types of things? Because the main thing is to maintain, to adopt a consistency in wellness, a sustainability, a community of wellness, either with 6 people on a trip or within a bigger women's circle. How do you sustain these types of practices? And I think this is very hard for women. What do you guys think?
yeah, definitely. I mean, look at your sixth house, which is the house of physical well. No, I should no. The physical house is there's definitely the ascendant and the first house, but the sixth house is the house of the daily habits that we perform in order to maintain a healthy body. That means, yeah, that is daily habits. That is the sixth house. So what sign is on there? And that shows you what are you inclined to do to maintain a healthy habit. And every sign can do it. But as you say, when you said like Virgo, yes, of course, that is the only sign that shoots to my head also first, that is into having a healthy regime on a regular basis, and it's all about health habits.
Habits. But habits are always broken, right? Like habits, good and bad habits can be broken. And how do you, like Sharon, how do we as women sustain those habits? This is like I think this is a mystery. I think it can be done, but I think it's inconsistent.
Yeah, I think even you saying that is very empowering, because the inconsistency has wisdom in it, because that can help us turn deeper into our feminine body and the cyclical nature of our being. And, I have fierce regimes. I've had to develop those, over time, and especially during midlife. It's like, no, line in the sand. If I'm not feeling well, I can't I cannot even be if I don't feel good. And those regimes change, and I approach them now with so much more softness, and I know there's just very particular things that have to kind of be set in stone, and then there's things that can be more like water, and they can shift with the tides, and I can say, you know what, I don't feel like, for example, one of my daily practices is connecting with the earth. So when it's warmer, because I used to at first be fierce, like, I need to do this every day, no matter what the weather is. And then I was like, God, that's not even kind. That's not kind to anybody, So when the weather is conducive, I go out and I stand barefoot on the earth, and I really honor the directions, and I have this whole prayer ritual. But when it's not so cozy and my feet don't want that, then I do it in a little different way, or I might sit inside and I just have an internal prayer. And so I think it's that nuance of, it can be cyclical and we can be softer, and I had so many symptoms that I was shocked by during my transition into menopause, and I did not move the needle through fierce health regimes. I wanted to, because I did everything, and I would get so hyper and vigilant about what's the next nutrition plan I can do, and what are the next supplements, and what are the next exercises. Never moved the needle, everything got worse. So the needle actually started moving when I got softer with myself and just said, what feels right to you today, honey?
Ah, that's
What
so
does
good.
your
You do this too.
body want?
Yes.
What does, like, not just for food, but like food, nourishment, like what practices will honor you, and some I have to hold on to, like going to the gym, for example. I gotta hold on to that steadily. Otherwise, you know what I mean? But
Mm,
there's so much nuance in that too. It's
yeah.
like, even today, I was gonna go to the gym this morning. I went, you know what? Today you could really use a walk, like just be out in the glorious bird, symphony of the morning. It was like, yeah, that feels good. That feels
Mm.
good. So
Yeah, good point, really. And as you said, Sharon, you are going through phases, not you, but we are all going through phases. And also the moon will tell us where we will fluctuate, because it rules the tides, it goes up and down. And the moon is our well-being. Like, this is our feeling of how we feel, like where we feel secure in ourselves, self-secure and protected. So where the moon is, I happen to have it in my first house. So my personality goes through phases, my body goes through phases. And if we discover this and we say, it's okay, I know it, and I don't beat myself up for it. So as you say, also, it's you have a regime, and some things are negotiable, but it's I totally think this is a good idea to start nicer self-talks with ourselves. It's so important, because when we are really well, then we inspire the ones around us. It's like a ripple effect that goes out, and we can like inform others by being a good example, being balanced and always positive, because there are always challenges coming from the outside. So how do we manage them? And do we get like scared and our emotions fuzzy and all over the place, or are we centered, or do we find things that catch us up, like earthing or good food? It's so important, really.
I really like what you said, like when you said the words self, self-care, and just, I was writing the word self, because what you're both really beautifully aligning with is the idea of, I say space and grace, but self-awareness around being a woman in different transition phases, that only you actually can give yourself permission. Your dog's not going to do it. I know they're very sentient beings. Your child is not going to understand. my son can subtly sense a shift in my energy. That's how sensitive he's. If I'm not smiling because I'm a very positive person, he's like, "Mommy, what's wrong?" And I'm like, I'm actually praying, right? Sometimes I just do like, just a short prayer and sit and I get very silent. He's like, "Mommy, what's wrong?" I said, "No, there's nothing wrong." So I try and I give him uh, that reassurance that I'm looking after myself in a very gentle way. And you're both alluding to gentleness and being aware of the cyclical motion of transitions and how you maintain a consistent thread for yourself and listening to your body and allowing yourself to go for a walk instead of doing another activity and allowing yourself to stay inside when there's a torrential rainstorm instead of yelling outside in a beautiful forest, which I would love, by the way, but I just don't have access to that right at this time. So I think I really love that. It's so beautiful. And Sharon, you said, if I'm not well, I cannot even be. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how beautiful is that? Just to, because that shows and encompasses that the awareness a woman needs around her and the gentleness she needs um, can either inspire or break those around her. And even if women are a more in a leadership oriented role, those components are even more important because women are leaving corporate jobs by the droves because they're not heard and they're not cared for, they're not held, they're not in receptive mode, they're in a mode of competition, they're expected to act and be like a man, and that's not what we're made for. we
That is,
are we are made to act and be like women, and we should be celebrated in that way.
yeah, I so agree. And that's really, you know, when there's a trend and everybody is supposed to be like, I don't know, look like Twiggy, that model from the old,
Mhm.
like the British model that has to be thin. So when somebody is a different in the Vedic or Ayurvedic, you have astrology. They look at Kapha, Vita, and what was the third one? So I don't know. It's like based on your body
Pitta.
type. And if you're not such a body type, love yourself because that's the reason why you are who you are and what you came with. And when you look at your astrology, there are nuggets in there, and you don't have to comply to what the magazines want women to look at right now, look like right now. And it's really, so if you feel like you want to be sporty and you want to be slim and slender, then it's just a question of what do you eat and what do you do for it. It's cause and effect.
Mhm.
So do you want that sweet or that candy, or do you want to nibble on a carrot? So that's one decision. And the other thing is just, like looking at a bus, there's only one bus driver, and if everybody wants to be a bus driver, there are no passengers. So yeah, that's how I think there's everybody can be only themselves and everybody else is given anyway. So we should really stop comparing ourselves with others. It's good to have an ideal and to say like, oh, I like that. I want to adopt that in my life. But living somebody else's life is not a good thing, and following and dancing to the drum of other people. I think we have to find our own rhythm.
So
Yeah,
beautiful.
so beautiful. And it's reminding me, one of the practices I just felt intuitively drawn to many, many years ago as I started tracking my own. And when I say rhythm, I mean literally like how I was feeling, on a regular basis. And I have since, brought this to women I work with. And it's one of the very first things I do, which is make a calendar for your soul. Like make
Oh,
a calendar so that you can retake back your yearly, do you know what I mean, journey. And it was mind blowing because I love doing self research first. And there'd be times of the year, even there was this like particular date in April where I would fall apart every year. And then I got to see it And then it became less and less personalized. And eventually, I even, from conversations, which were just more, unexpected, I learned like there were 2 or 3 significant people in my life who had died on that day, and one even in my husband's. So I was able to slowly do the research to say, oh, our journey through our days, our weeks, our months, our years are so profoundly influenced, and we can track this. And then when we track this, we re-empower ourselves to not just plan for it, but do preventative care for it.
This is brilliant,
And then
Sharon.
to be our own drummer, with actually the music of the cosmos, because that's, you know what I mean? Like the cosmos is the one bringing it to us, and we're the one going, yeah, this is how I'm going to dance through what I've been given. And lineage, that you can see all your lineage patterns in that, and so many other things.
That's it, exactly. And it is so empowering, as you say, brilliantly put. When you know what's the weather like, then you just take an umbrella or you take flip-flops out, and then just knowing that is really putting you in the driver's seat.
Oh, so beautiful. Dancing with what I've been given, which is some of the basis of alchemy, right? That's the basis of alchemy. No matter what whatever hand you're dealt with, you're able to. And I think women, we're quite magical. I'm a little impartial, but I think we're very magical creatures because we create, we work, we travel, we study, we're educated, we're so dynamically beautiful. And I'm just going to say it's our time now. It's our time. We're made for this time. It's our time. It's enough of this crap that's happened in the last millennia. No more. We have to be given, and not only from external, because that's not going to happen right away, unless you see Sharon and Stephanie on a regular basis. Of course it does. It happens right away. But you don't always have that connection, and you start with yourself, right?
Yes, and that's really like a natural selection, because you're in a neighborhood, you're in a family setting, and all of a sudden you change because maybe you heard a podcast, maybe you read a book, and you discover like, okay, this is who I am, and I stand to it, and you make little changes, and you're taking your power back, and then the others are like going, you're changing, and all this. What are you like? You're rebellious, and they kind of like want to keep you, like the crabs want to pull you down. So that's a dangerous thing. And I think that right now, also with the lunar eclipse that went before, and now the eclipse in the solar eclipse in Aries, it's really about the relationships in our life. Some that are built on lies and some that are not authentic will have to fall away, because we cannot just keep living a lie.
No. Sharon, you had looked like you have something.
Yeah, I'm brewing on it. So go ahead.
You brew, my friend. You just brew. I love your brew. The idea of, and just when we say dancing, rhythm, dancing in cycles, that absolute, there's a freedom to that. There's a emotional freedom to that. There's divine flow, if you want to call it. There's all of these things that come to play, even so that you are working and living in a matrix society, right? But you can choose that and dance around it and not become it. You can be of it, right? You don't have to become it. You can just observe. Like somebody said, I forget who said it. Just observe. Oh no, Sharon, you said it at your child's sports event. Just observe, because when you observe, then you're not getting completely part of it. I remember the story. People have always thought that growing up I was snobby. I didn't speak much. I had friends. I had, quite a good core group of friends. But I remember, especially especially in the members of the opposite sex, they couldn't approach me right away. And one of them, eventually, he was my high school sweetheart. He says, I'm actually surprised you're talking to me. And I said, why? He says, well, you're very quiet. You look a bit snobby. And I said, well, I'm not. It's just that I was always constantly observing. I was just observing, not getting too emotional. And when I did, I always got into drama, right? And so the point is just the observation and allowing yourself to observe rather than absorb what's around you.
Oh, that's a good
That's
one.
a
That's a
very,
good one.
it's
Observe
like
instead of absorbing. I like that one. I mean,
you have
taking action is important too. And I think I can
I
feel it
agree.
also with the eclipse. The people, I was in a park, in a municipal park in Fredericksburg in Texas, and the energy there was really, the collective is kind of like taking action and becoming aware, self-aware.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
really, really exhilarating and uplifting and beautiful. And I think that's when we don't know ourselves, we could take action in the wrong direction. So knowing ourselves is the first step that I think that we can then take action that is more intelligent and forward bringing, like goal oriented.
Yes, and I realize now when people thought that I was snobby and I was too quiet, I'm like, but that's what I was, and it was my ego, of course, took great offense to it at the time, but now I realize I was just trying to be who I was and just observe and learn what was around me, learn what the matrix was all about, learn about what type of person I was, what type of woman I was. So I was constantly looking and observing, and I got into trouble when I didn't. Right? I forgot about myself, and I left parts of myself there. Now I'm getting a bit emotional, but I left parts of myself there. And
But
and just
you grew out. I think you probably grew above your personal part that was before.
perhaps, yeah, perhaps. But I stopped growing in grade 6, though. Just an FYI, physically grew.
Oh, literally.
Spiritually, you can go, but I actually stopped growing in grade 6. I'm really small.
Oh,
this
yeah,
is
it's
a big
making
thing
me
for
think of what you were saying before about stillness. And with
Yeah.
stillness often requires silence, to really feel stillness, which then, as you so beautifully describe, like it takes a lot of confidence to not talk. And I think in our culture, we've had that reversed.
Oh, that's a good
There's
point.
been so much about like, speak up, share your voice, all really beautiful. Like I'm a proponent of that in every way. And like it takes deep self-care to choose not to speak. And so here's that, even on some level, I think, what a brave thing, that you didn't. And it wasn't interesting that everyone saw you then as snobby or like all those projections, which really had nothing to do with you or what was going on inside of you. And so, yeah. Oh, the reflection of our lovely culture.
That is so true. And it's really the quality of what we say, Sharon. You're so right with that, because we pick up from movies and series on TV, like, oh, chitter chatter, and it's superficial, but it's about really being silent and only speak when we have something of meaning to say. It's much better.
Yes, I like that. I love that, Sharon. It takes deep self-care to not speak. And this will play havoc on a few astrological signs because some of them are more verbal and some of them love that conversation piece and like to be with people and stuff.
Exactly, like the Gemini, and we have the moon in Gemini today, but also the Sagittarius, they really like to make their opinion known. They're fiery. They have probably a harder time to taking a back seat, but we need all of them in the end. And
exactly. Yeah, because I'll have women, because I do a lot with silence and stillness and whatnot, and speaking from your soul voice or speaking from your womb, which requires being, very present. And women will get a little like, oh my God, now I feel like if I speak, I'm going to speak wrong. It's like, oh no, never. You never, like, expression has to be playful. We've got to just go back to the dance. Like, we've got to just dance our way into finding what our true voice is from those deeper recesses of our still present wisdom.
Exactly. And I am conscious of the time. I know, Sharon, you have another event that you're hosting today. What is, everyone, would you like to share anything that's happening in on your end in terms of initiatives, or would you like to share your anything that's coming out in terms of your projects? You can share that now.
Yeah, Sharon, do you want to go ahead?
I'm simmering again, like, oh, that's a really big invitation, and like, what's the
Yes.
thing I most want to say? So
Any
maybe
courses or
if you've got something off the top of your lips, Stephanie,
yeah.
please go.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I have 2 events coming up. That means 3 events that are 2 are retreats. I take people to Mexico that they're dealing some kind of with some kind of a loss. So we're going to Mexico for a 7-day retreat, and the other is for couples. So it's mindful
Wow.
communications and finding deeper bonding. And the third is a tour that is an eco-cultural tour to Germany.
Wow.
If people are interested, I can put all those links in the info box after I post it on the YouTube. And then other than that, I'm in an abundance workshop. So everyone who listens, maybe if they want to join this abundance workshop, it's an ongoing marathon where we are really a supportive group and working on our abundance setting. So that's from my end.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Sharon, what about you, my love?
Gorgeous. Yeah, so today, right after this event, I've got a beautiful event happening, which is going to be leading to some more deepening immersions with it. And it's called From Pain to Purpose, transforming your downward spirals into personal and creative fulfillment. So today is an intro discussion, and then there'll be a more deepening immersion next month with that. And I'm collaborating with an incredible singer-songwriter. I have upcoming, I'll be doing it's a beautiful women's spiritual festival happening in Croatia, and that's happening in September, called Tidal Wave Flow.
Wow.
And what else is on my horizon? Yeah, there's always little things brewing, and I love when people reach out, and I'm doing a lot of podcasts and things now.
Send me the link also. I will put it under the video so people can find you. And Roshni,
Yeah,
going on
beautiful.
here.
Beautiful.
I'm on the it's so yin yang that I was quiet, but now I'm working on a podcast, and my podcast is called Light Speaks, and it's the focus is on energy and alternative medicine, especially in female wellness, integration of astrology in those circles, new and emerging holistic medicine modalities that are coming up and are actually being uncovered again from ancient times that people are starting to use, and I think they are still using. So my curiosity in that podcast is going to be fueled by my guests, and so I will be I extend an invitation to you both to be guests there as well, because I have just incredible knowledge that comes out, and speaking with someone who's soul aligned is the best soul food. So I really enjoy that. So I'm looking forward to launching that.
Yes, that is exciting. We're looking forward to it. So all links my way, and then I'll get it out into the world, and many people find us here. Looking
Thank you
forward
both.
to next month, and it was super to have you on, Sharon. Also, it was great meeting you.
It's great to meet you,
Thank you,
Stephanie.
Sharon.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Pleasure.
All right.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Have a good
Bye-bye.
week.